Now to an exclusive NBC News report. U.S. Border Patrol agents apprehended a group of more than 1,000 migrants who illegally crossed the southern border near El Paso, Texas. It's believed to be the largest single group intercepted by the Border Patrol. NBC News' Julia Ainsley has the exclusive details. Julia, what can you tell us about what's going on?
Well, you're right, Jeff. This is the largest group that Border Patrol has encountered, and the last record was over 400 set last month. They are seeing larger groups coming. It's part of a trend. Immigration advocates say that these immigrants feel safety in numbers. They want to come in a large group because of how dangerous it can be to cross through these areas. More immigrants are coming in illegally. Some of the advocates say that's because it is harder to come in legally. It's taking longer to get in when you want to claim asylum at legal ports of entry. But what this means from a safety and humanitarian perspective is sometimes Border Patrol is not able to safely attend to these large groups. They don't have the medical personnel. Often these people are only patrolling the border in pairs. So you have two border agents encountering a group of over 1,000 in this case. And we know the majority of them, over 900, traveled as part of a family. That means if you encounter a mother and child, those would count as two family units. That's the way they count this. So we're seeing more families, again, part of a growing trend as families come here to claim asylum, fleeing violence and poverty in the northern triangle countries of Central America.
Hey, Julia, the president mentioned a big immigration announcement coming today when he left the White House this morning. Do we know whether this is the announcement that he was talking about?
I'm told, Jeff, from a well-placed source that this will be a large thrust of that announcement, that the president wants to show that there's a crisis at the border, to try to paint the picture of an invasion, and that this piece of information is something that he's been holding in order to make this a very dramatic rollout tomorrow. But, you know, if that's the case, it's important to keep in mind that these are not people who come in armed or dangerous. Nothing in our information or their documents that we've seen indicate that they posed any kind of threat to the border agents, but just that their sheer numbers do present problems not only just for border agents, but for themselves, and that they can't be safely attended to. But yes, I think we should keep our ears out for this same number, 1,036, tomorrow when the president speaks.
NBC's Julia Ainsley with that exclusive reporting. Julia, thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.